What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Daily Rage Quit. I'm your host, Weiss, and alongside me, the one, the only, Steelman.
What's up, y'all?
And guys, today's episode, Steelman and I are stoked about, which we want to dive into something that we got a little bit of a taste of last week, which is talking about the PlayStation 5, and more importantly, the interface. And the reason why this is so important is because the PlayStation 4 interface sucks. It is slow. It was a second thought. And the best part about all this is, one, we got a taste of the interface during the conference. And then the second thing is we got some updated news this past week about the interface from the guy that's handling it all.
Yeah, it's no secret that the PS4 interface needs some work and improvements, and we're glad to hear that it's getting a complete overhaul for the PS5, which is what this news article has kind of come out and said. So happy about that. Can't say enough of that about how much that was needed. So yeah.
Now, this news article points out a few things without a doubt. It talks about, one, who's actually handling the interface, which is actually important for you all to know the credibility that's going behind the PlayStation 5 interface and how much effort's going into it. I think the second thing is they talk about in this article as well a key moment, which is no pixel untouched. So, Steven, give us a little bit of a briefing on this article and what you're seeing there.
Yeah, like you said, I think the PS4 really was like an afterthought. I think this was kind of, if you think about 5 years ago, things have changed quite a bit. Everyone has an app now for Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. And some of that stuff was around back then, but it wasn't as robust as it is today. A lot of that stuff has been, really revamped and vamped over to create a more robust experience for videos. So first of all, like it needed a huge overhaul for the PS5. Secondly, they come out and said, and this comes from Matt MacLaurin, who is the VP of UX design at Sony right now, or for the PlayStation. And, he had some comments. I guess he was answering some questions on his LinkedIn. PushSquare, which is a reputable Sony news site, has come out and said this. And we'll link that in the description below that article. Basically, what they said, Matt MacLaurin said was that, they're revamping everything. And just so you guys know, he's not only worked at Apple, Facebook, eBay, Nest, Indeed. He's also worked at Microsoft for a long period of his career. So, I've heard that the Xbox's UI has been, pretty good and manageable in the past and easy to manage. I expect to see Sony really have come out with something really special this time around, simply because they clearly went after somebody who has a lot of experience designing UX and UI. So, we're excited about that. I'm glad that they've obviously put someone in charge of this who knows what they're doing. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. I'm sure they're going to come up with something that looks beautiful.
I agree with that, especially if you think about it. You look at your phone right now, and you're not even thinking about this at the moment. But if you look at your phone, and let's say you have an iPhone, and you're scrolling through, it is absolutely natural instinct for you to just flip around, click on things, and them to naturally open quickly and run smoothly. The only time where you actually truly think about your interface on your phone, on your laptop, on your Nest, is when the system isn't cooperating with the actions you're taking. This guy's definitely going to bring the guns in. I have a slight feeling the interface is going to get completely overhauled. Like, we have no idea what it's going to look like. We're going to take a couple guesses. But if you really think about it, if you're a UI type of person, if you're a developer for UI, the type of experience you want to give to your users on any type of software or even hardware is seamless. You shouldn't have to think about all the stuff that you're doing. It should just happen. And this is very interesting to me because when we think about this, I should be able to flip through the PlayStation interface and go from one game to another, going to my media center and going to Netflix or Hulu without a problem, not even thinking about how slow it is, because today's PlayStation 4 blows at this type of thing. I get so furious at the interface. A matter of just stepping back, holding the PlayStation button down, and then trying to bring up the party chat right on the left-hand side of the screen, and it could take forever depending on what game you're running or anything like that. And you notice it, and it fires you up. I hear everybody yelling in the background. They're trying to turn on streaming, how insanely long it takes. I think there's going to be a lot of detail to this. I think there's going to be a lot of meticulous movement, and everything that happens in the interface is going to happen for a reason, and it's going to be as fluid as possible.
Yeah, I've struggled with, so especially when you get some of these bigger games. Call of Duty has been the absolute worst, but simply because it's the biggest game I've ever seen on a PlayStation. And it takes up a lot of resources. So when you go to the share menu, or you go to the PlayStation menu when that game is running, man, it takes forever, and it is miserable. And I hope that they're kind of paying attention to that, not just paying attention to the now. I mean, it's easy to create a UI. I mean, the PS4's UI was great when it came out. 5-6 years down the road, is it still going to be great? Like, that's the thing they should really be paying attention to, because that's when it gets, it becomes cumbersome for the PlayStation to handle the UI and the game playing, and sometimes a Netflix in the background, or something that's not running, but it's, on pause. That right there is, I think, what they're focusing on. And they said that, they're focusing on making it lightning fast, they said. And I'm sorry, he said, Matt MacLaurin had said that they're going to measure this in milliseconds. All the actions are being measured in milliseconds. So they're focusing on speed. It's their priority for this. It has to be done right. The only question is, will it be done right for the long term when we get those games that are probably going to run into the 200 gigabyte range, or maybe even more for the next set of games that are coming out, next gen set of games that are coming out, which is crazy to think about. But I want to see it run perfectly then. I'm not too concerned about it at the front with speed, but I am concerned about what it looks like, and I'm sure they'll come up with something unique.
They definitely will, and I think with the speed, it has to think about everything that's running. And you mentioned it, Netflix, that, but also a big part of it is streaming. There has been a constant problem with the PlayStation and its source of turning on streaming, whether if it's taking too long, whether if the connection from the PlayStation or booting everything up and getting directly connected and integrated with Twitch, with YouTube. There's always been a disconnect there, and I hope that there's been a lot of thought process into how quickly they can connect those sources. And also when you're running the game, how quickly it's running the game through that integration. Because remember, everybody, it's not just a magic fucking wand where you're streaming. There's a lot of things that have to go into it. There's processing on both ends. Twitch is run by Amazon, so they're not going to have any problems with that. The hardware and the software within the PlayStation needs to be just as strong as what you're going to be loading into.
Yeah, and I think that several things. One of the things I look back at the PlayStation 4 and thought was really cool, and Xbox didn't do, was the ability that when you boot it up, it started. If you shut it down when there was a game playing, it started right into that game. And you could just pick it up right where it left off. And I know Xbox didn't have that at launch. I don't know if they have it now. It booted up real fast, went right into the game you were playing, and you could just start playing right away. And this literally took like 10 seconds to do. That's something that's really like the next step when it comes to UIs. How do we take that further is the question that they seem to be looking at here. I think one of those things is putting in-game menus into the UI itself.
Yeah.
And Mark Cerny has kind of touched on this and hinted at this. And I think that would be such a crucial part to the UI that could really expedite a gaming session for gamers. So you don't have to boot up the game and then go into the menu and select multiplayer, and then you could just select multiplayer right from the UI and go right into it. I want to see how far that'll go. I think one of the things on how far that could go is, I think it could be pretty cool is if, a lot of games when you're playing single player games have a continue game session right at the top as soon as you load the game up. It would be awesome if you could just go right into the UI, click continue game, and it just starts loading your game right out of the UI. And with that super fast SSD that it's going to have, it would be probably lightning fast that you would just be UI into your gaming session, your saved game, playing right away. You could switch over to another game and have the same thing happen. You could switch back all with the blink of an eye very quick. And when they say lightning fast, I really hope that that's something that they're focusing on. And that would be really, really unique to see.
Just the fact that you said load into a multiplayer game instantaneously would be magical.
Yeah,
I'm so tired of how long it takes to load in to a multiplayer game with all your homies. It's pretty cumbersome right now. So I think you're on the right track, man. It is all about lightning speed, getting it in there. That menu would be ridiculous. Give it to us. We want it. Give it to us now. Now, of course, alongside that, guys, we got the news articles and all that. We also got in the PlayStation reveal, we got a glimpse of the actual home screen click PlayStation button. I always forget what to call it. It's when you click the PlayStation button on your controller and it loads up the actual UI. So we got a crisp, clean look at it. It wasn't anything magical, anything new. It was just, good resolution and ready to go. I think it's a precursor. You mentioned this term a lot, Steelman, flexing muscle. Their next session that they got to be doing from a Sony perspective and from a PlayStation perspective is to actually show the UI. I think they're really going to dive into it. I know we want to hear the audio. We want to hear more about audio. I think the UI and the price are probably going to be the next big things that are going to come through. Now, when it comes to the UI, though, what is it actually going to look like? There no pixel untouched, overhauling the entire system. That leads me to believe the potential is endless, and how you search for things and how you access certain parts of the platform. I have very little idea. I have a couple ideas that could potentially work, but I'm genuinely curious, Steelman, what your thoughts are around that.
It's hard for me to wrap my brain around simply because I don't know how you get away from a controller being the most efficient way to scroll through your UI. You have the touchpad, or which could potentially be used maybe with gestures. Simply like an Android or iPhone works. I don't see them doing that, and I don't see people utilizing it more than just the D-pad of being scrolling back and forth. So I don't really know where they go. I'm kind of the mindset this isn't really broke. It just needs to be a lot faster. The only other thing that I could possibly think of, and it's been rumored that, and I think it's been actually confirmed that Sony is working on an Alexa type AI system to be integrated with the PlayStation. And if you're going to integrate that into the UI, you have to have certain things like commands like start whatever game, which you already have on the PlayStation 4. You could start games by saying start Call of Duty, and it'll start Call of Duty for you. It's just that not a lot of people use it. But if you could say start, invite my friends to the match, and you have a list of friends that says, friends, and they're under your friends list, and you just invite all those people in, or it picks the ones who are online and invites them all to a party. That would be cool. Join a game with my friends. It invites them all to join your game, and they hop into your party, and you go into a multiplayer game. Stuff like that would be really, really cool, but also just top, it would be cutting edge. There's nothing doing that right now. That's the only thing I can imagine them going from here, besides using maybe the touchpad to kind of scroll around, and I don't know how they'd make that efficient. It would be tough, but that's about all I can see. Other than that, I'm kind of baffled on how they're going to make this a total overhaul, something that's unique and we've never seen before. But maybe they can.
I mean, when you got the street cred of Apple, when you got the street cred of Microsoft, when you've got that street cred with Facebook, I mean, and you have that UI experience, there could be a potential of blending all that. I think you think of simple things like swiping on your phone is like one of the most basic concepts that we just expect, and it's there. The D-pad, I don't really, or the touchpad, I really don't think it encompasses the gaming culture from a PlayStation perspective. It's just it's always been like a weird tool to use.
Yeah.
Because you have to move your thumb over, and the controller's going to be even bigger this time. So I wonder if like maybe your flipping is just going to be your R1, L1. You're going to be going to different pages and flipping through those, or just just a simple Apple-like application system.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, and then you could go through, or if I really want to be fancy, plug in my PlayStation, my phone, and just totally swipe through it as well. I mean, you could do that right now at a very minimal basic level with the remote play, but that could be also a potential too.
Yeah, the only thing I could ever see, and we haven't really seen the DualSense controller on and working and functioning yet, so it could still be a possibility. The only thing I could see is that like if the touchpad like illuminated and showed like portions of your screen or had a screen in it. I know some people had said that that's what they were going to do. I don't think that's what they're going to do.
I don't think so.
You wouldn't see $60 controllers, then you'd probably see $100 plus controllers, which is just a crazy price point for an accessory. But yeah, like the only thing I could see is that like there was some sort of light that came through and it would tell you like what to do. I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to go that way. I don't think there's enough need for that. The Alexa AI, or the Sony's AI has to be kind of what they're really going to go for. But I'm not much of a voice person. Sometimes I utilize it, sometimes I don't. But if they made it easy, I would.
I love it. I love it. I think with the UI guys, this is a big opportunity for Sony to just unveil something that's magical. And magical could be just something that's simple. That's all we really need. Simplicity, fluidity, and nothing complex. So, Sony, if you're listening, keep it simple. Please. Don't make it complicated.
And fast.
All right, y'all. Thank you all very much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Rage Quit. Be sure to subscribe down below. We want to keep these videos going, of course. Also, make sure you like or dislike. We need to know if you like our shit or not. And, of course, keep the conversation going. Comment down below. We want to hear your thoughts about the new PlayStation 5 interface. But all of us from the Daily Rage Quit saying, peace.